Welcome, everybody, to the Sykes Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the trade shows. And we just got done with a marathon of trade shows. I'm telling you, I got back from 6 or 7 weeks on the road. And I literally felt like I had ran a marathon. Kendell, you know all about it. Bonnie, you know all about it. Y'all were there.
What did we have? 7?
It's going to be a total of 7 this year.
Is that what it was?
Well, including 6 trade shows, and there's 4 of the ownership workshops. And we have 1 trade show to go and 1 workshop left to go. So we're almost we can see the finish line, Scotty.
And NCPA is coming up. So we got a little break. We got NCPA coming up in October. We're speaking with PCCA in August in Chicago, which is always good. Speaking of speaking, Bonnie, we spoke at Amerisource here just last week. Yeah. And I tell you, we had a full crowd, 230 people plus. So kind of touched on, well, first of all, the fundamentals of accounting, very important. We touched on a few tax topics, ended on some buy-sell considerations, which could be a whole class in and of itself.
I was worried because we had a hour and a half time slot. Usually it's about an hour or even 45 minutes. And so I was kind of like, this is going to be tough to fill that hour and a half. And all of a sudden they were flashing the 10-minute card and we still had slides to go. So it was a great group and lots of questions and interactive discussions. So that was awesome.
And one of the takeaways from the speaking, I guess, would be we got a lot of questions on DR fees, a lot of questions on the chart of accounts, how that needs to be set up, which there are some good questions, but I think there's a little confusion out there with the chart of accounts here. Some were saying rebates should be against cost of goods. Some are saying it should be as other income. Same with DR fees. DR fees should go against your sales, or DR fees should be shown as an expense. A lot of contention there, I would even say, with how that's supposed to be reported. And I think the big takeaway that people were missing was it doesn't matter how you're showing these accounts. Your bottom line is going to be the same. It's how you're analyzing these numbers. As long as they're accurate and you follow the fundamentals as we touched on those engagement, the speaking, but it's the end of the day, the numbers are the same. It's just how are you analyzing these numbers, whether you have these accounts in certain areas or not.
Yeah, there's not a right or wrong answer, really.
Right.
It's just really how you want to look at it and how you want to compare it.
Exactly.
And how to see those percentages. And the reasoning for what we do and how we show it is for really reporting purposes, to be able to see on our end how that pharmacy is operating and the percent of sales for DRR fees and percent of sales for the rebate. So that's really the reason in there. But yeah, lots of discussion with that.
Yeah.
I know we're really familiar with the various ways to present it, but just to kind of recap a little bit for those on the podcast who wasn't there. Some are lumping rebates, and then they're also lumping DIR fees. All of that's going against the cost of goods sold, and it's all being lumped up. Some want the presentation to be different. But one thing I always think is most pharmacies that I talk to, they don't have a line item on anywhere on their P&L.
Right.
Exactly.
They're not reporting it at all. So I think that's the first thing is if it's just not reported or if it's grouped with other accounts and you say, well, the bottom line is going to be the same. So I just want to know what my net gross profit percentage is. That's an argument. I just want to know the net. I just want to know what I'm doing. But then you think about it, it's like, okay, if you know your net, is it because your buying has slipped, or is it because your DIR fees have increased, or is it because your rebates have gone down? What is going on? So then you can't be actionable, even though the bottom line
is the same.
Hence the shout out to the podcast, the bottom line. Even though the bottom line is the same, if it's not broken out, how can you make any decisions on what you're doing? So I think the one thing we can all agree on is that you need to have it listed on your P&L somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotta have the fundamentals in there, and then from there, however you present it is kind of up to you and your unique situation. But as long as you're pulling the information out of what those numbers are telling you, that's what you need to be able to understand. Not exactly where they are, but what do they tell me as a pharmacy owner? So I don't want folks to get caught up in that because we had a lot of questions on that. And so anyway, moving on here, I think we answered that pretty well when we were talking too as well. But and Bonnie, we got a lot of good feedback on that talk. We also talked at Cardinal. We spoke there. We got a lot of questions on the ERC, Employee Retention Tax Credit, which we've already done a podcast on. Bottom line there is,
be careful.
Bottom line there is, it's going to be hard for a pharmacy to qualify. It's just going to be difficult. So you have to be very careful there.
I think you need to be clear when you say it's going to be hard for a pharmacy to qualify, Scotty. I think it's very possible that if you fill out the paperwork, you may qualify as far as they may give you the credit. The question is if somebody audits it later. Yeah, don't feel like you're out of the woods because you fill out the paperwork and someone gives you the credit. That's not what we're talking about. I think if you fill the paperwork out and you send it in, there's a good chance you might get the money, but it's do you actually qualify truthfully? And
based on the regulations and the law.
Hold up later.
Right. Yeah. And that partial shutdown due to a government order, and again, OSHA, not a government order. CDC, not a government order. The supply chain issue is a stretch. So partial shutdown due to a government order is going to just be very difficult to make yourself qualify in that regard. And it's very subjective. So just be careful there if you do come across employee retention tax.
And just be careful with the people that are calling and knocking on your door trying to pushing you to do it. They are really, in it to win it, get their portion.
They want their 15, 25%. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not going to tell you if you're the one that's going to sign it and say that you qualify. So just keep that in mind.
And let's see what else. We talked on DR fees this year at the Apex show. Had a presentation for about an hour on DR fees. What we're seeing there, DR fees continue to trend upwards for 2022. It seems like it was about 2.5% in 2020, 3.5% of revenue in 2021. It looks like we're creeping up to 4.5% of revenue in 2022 here. So, a lot of pharmacies, I guess, Kendell, they don't know where they stand as a percent of revenue for DR fees. And that goes back to your point you were making earlier, but you need to know these percentages because it's going to open up a whole can of questions on why you are or are not performing where you should be in terms of DR fees. I mean, you may be above average, and as long as you know why you're above average, that's that. But if you're above average and you have no idea why you're above average, I mean, that opens up a can of questions. Hey, what can I do to get at average or below average? What can I be doing differently? What areas of DR fees can I control?
Right.
Yeah, and you could tell when you said the words or the letters DIR, most of the pharmacists, they were just grimacing.
There was size.
Their heads were hanging.
Yeah.
There was size. Their heads were hanging low. So it's impacting the pharmacists, the pharmacies that we work with, and then also just being at the trade show, we can see the impact. So at the very least, to know how it's impacted you, if you kind of got your head in the sand and don't know, it's going to be hard to really make wise decisions on your business, not knowing what the trends are as far as how your DR fees are being treated. It's becoming a very serious, hot topic, and I mean, when you don't want to bring up, but you have to. So
yeah,
and we definitely see it in the numbers, guys. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do, but there are some things you can do to keep it down as far as you can. I mean, because in looking at the clients that we work with, I mean, you can see the ones that don't do anything, like you talk about, just put your head down and just hope for the best, versus those that are doing some things to do what they can to decrease those. And it makes a difference. It's still terrible. It's still a lot of money, but it makes a difference. So
it does. Because 1% of your revenue is quite a bit of money. And if you can invest time and effort into maybe getting a 1% reduction in DR fees, no matter what you have to do, whether it's cutting out these scripts that you're losing on that maybe you did not know you were losing on, or whatever it may be, that's going to be a lot of money for you in your pharmacy.
Yeah.
Because it is now the third largest expense in a pharmacy is your DR fees, which then leads into another topic we touched on. And kind of a trend in the trade show takeaway here is the revenue mix, diversifying that top line revenue to expand that gross margin and weed out that PBM and those DR fees. So we're seeing a lot of hot conversation on expanding revenue mix. And as a matter of fact, you can't just fill scripts anymore. You have to find, and we were saying this in our talks, Bonnie, we have to find, or a pharmacy has to find in their community a niche revenue source, whether it's cash-based, OTC, pet meds, compounding, long-term care, whatever it is. They have to go out there and find something in their communities that can fit the needs of their patients and so on to grow that top line.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that we were discussing as far as brainstorming for more opportunities for this podcast is bringing on some clients that do just that and let them tell us about the different things they do to diversify their revenue. So we've got some exciting things hopefully to come with some people talking about those things that they do in their community that works for them. But you definitely have to get out there and figure out what that is and do something other than fill scripts in your community for sure.
Yeah, and I always imagine like if filling scripts can kind of keep your business afloat, it could be the bread and butter of your business. It can at least get you to the break-even point.
Right.
Then if you have something that you're doing, like you said, pet meds or some nutraceuticals or things of that nature that have a large gross profit margin on top of it, so your business has gotten to the break-even, then every single time you sell something, and let's say if the gross margin is 50%, that's going straight to your bottom line. So some people might think, well, this is such a small portion of my revenue in total. But if the gross profit margin is so much higher and you're just breaking even, if you're one of the pharmacies I have just breaking even, and you can get an extra 100,000, let's say, in revenue of something with a 50% margin, that's 50 grand, going straight
and most of the times, Kendell, those things don't have DRR fees, so you don't have to worry about that. They're usually cash. And it
high margin.
Really is straight to the bottom line. So it's a good point.
And just filling scripts, you should be able to get to a 3% bottom line plus. So 3 to 7% bottom line just filling prescriptions. So this is, the diversified revenue mix is going to just, add to that bottom line. But, if you're running your pharmacy very efficiently, you're using the technology solutions out there, payroll's lean, you are managing DR fees. I mean, you should be in a 3% plus bottom line.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be break even. That's not a benchmark. Benchmark would be that 3 to 7%. So, but the whole thing here is just getting away from these DR fees, and serving your patients better. Because as we've seen at these trade shows, pharmacies are becoming that healthcare center, the wellness centers in their community. Access to reliable providers is harder and harder. I mean, pharmacies are in a great opportunity. It's an exciting time to be a pharmacist. It's a difficult time to be a pharmacist owner, but because you're not just filling these scripts anymore, you have to have a passion for kind of going outside that box.
Yep, for sure.
And then you said like a healthcare provider. Well, you're being a provider more than just filling scripts. I was eating lunch and I ended up talking to the gentleman beside me, and he was he's thinking about getting out of pharmacy. He was trying to figure out, how can I get out? He's getting older, ready to retire. But even for someone who maybe previously was satisfied with filling scripts, he said that people are coming to him asking for different kind of vaccinations, asking for what he does for the flu, asking what he does for COVID. So now, even if you would like to just fill scripts, or you feel like you could survive just filling scripts, what most pharmacies can't, now the community is coming to you and asking you for those things. And I bet that more and more pharmacies are going to see that the community is going to be dissatisfied.
That's a good point. I mean, you may not be a choice anymore. I mean, if people want it, you're going to have to provide it, or they're going to go somewhere else. So we may be past the point of it being something that you choose to do. It may be something that you're kind of forced to do as an independent pharmacist. So it's a good point.
But it is exciting. It's good stuff.
For sure.
I mean, come on. I mean, if you're a pharmacy owner out there, is take care of your community, take care of your patients. This is what it's all about. This is what you got to do. So,
and I think legislatively, pharmacists have more authority to do those things than ever. So,
yep,
things have changed recently, especially with with the COVID. So it's opened a whole new door.
Right.
It was exciting. Definitely exciting things.
Yeah. Guys, the other thing I noticed a lot, obviously, at all the shows was the technology, like we always see, but still hot out there, all the different robots and different other technology advancements with all the different equipment that's out there. I think one thing that I thought was good news is everyone, all the vendors I spoke with, all seemed to feel like that, different from last year, that they're about 6 to 8 weeks out when you order at this point, is what they're telling us. So if you're looking to make any kind of purchases to help you with tax mitigation for the year, it looks like that those things still can be ordered and put in place before the end of the year.
Technology's huge. As payroll continues to creep up.
Yep.
You're asking more of your staff to do more of these other ancillary revenue, clinical services, whatever it is. You know, you need that technology behind the bench there. You need to be able to maximize what's going on there behind the bench, and technology is key to doing that. So, and like you said, Bonnie, depreciation rules are still liberal, 100% write-off, generally speaking, for 2022 here. So those tax planning tools are still there.
Yep. So what I enjoyed the most about the trade show, guys, is obviously meeting all these new people, but it was also great to see all of our clients.
Oh, so I thought you were going to say the food.
The food was pretty good. I got to say, I don't think I really had anything I disliked at either of the shows.
It was pretty good. I just still learned to Starbucks. It's pretty good. I had to get some kind of express food.
Yeah. Though,
the food was really good.
Especially with
the unlimited coffee is nice. I do love the unlimited coffee.
Yeah. Amerisource, the show this year was 6 hours, 6-hour blocks. So that was a long show. So yeah, the coffee was definitely needed at that show.
They had cheese and dip in between too.
Yeah.
That
get you through.
Yeah, they wouldn't give you Pepsi though unless it was like a designated break. So
they
faint and say that was going to diabetic coma. And then the guy begrudgingly gave me a Pepsi, but other than that,
those pharmacists, man, these groups know how to feed you, because we do the CPA conferences, and sometimes it's like, get me out of here. Where's the nearest burger? Please.
Yeah, they definitely keep people fed. That's for sure. With snacks and with
right.
lunches and dinners, breakfast,
and we get to mingle with our current clients, because we saw a lot of them while we were eating those delicious lunches.
Yep.
Kendell, I believe you got a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, so we could talk about just the importance of meeting our clients. And for those who couldn't make it to ThoughtSpot or Admin's Trade Show, just kind of put a little small video.
That's a big part of what we do is, we don't see our clients in person. We see them virtually all year long, but we don't see them in person. We don't go to offices. We don't visit the pharmacies most of the time. So it's so great to come to these trade shows and be able to see our clients in person and talk with them and their families. Such a good time. So we've enjoyed that over the last few months.
Yeah, a couple of times people have come up to me. It's like, so how does this even work working virtually with an accountant? And I asked, well, how often do you actually see your CPA face to face? And it's like, well, maybe once a year. Besides that, we do everything over the phone.
Right.
I was like, it's kind of the same with us. We see a lot of our clients at the trade shows. We get to catch up.
Yep.
But virtually on web calls, we can meet monthly if they like, show their financials and still talk to them. But it was nice to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of people just really happy to send their love to the rest of the Sykes team who was still home.
Yeah, and the vendors the same way. I mean, it's so great to go into the trade shows and speak with these vendors on all different topics, on all different things that they're selling and things that are out there, and learning about all the new technology and advancements. So it's just super great to go to these shows. If you're not doing that already, and we definitely encourage everyone to do that. And if you haven't hit a trade show this year, definitely there's one more left in CPA, the big one at the end of the year in October. Definitely look at Kansas City, I believe. Is that what it is, guys?
KC.
Coming up in early October 1st. Yeah. So it's definitely worth it to go and just to walk that trade show floor to see things that you could do with your pharmacy.
Bonnie and Scotty, they were trying to be humble when they said it was just not that many people there. So if you see any empty seats, they were full about 5 minutes into the presentation, and then they started adding rows, and then people started sitting on the floor, and then people started laying on the floor.
They weren't asleep, were they? The ones that were laying?
No, they weren't asleep. Good. I thought I was at Disney. People waiting in line to get in. So
well, I didn't see anybody leave, so that's generally a good thing. So I didn't see anybody leave. I didn't see anybody fall asleep. So accounting is it's not the most exciting topic. So
and it was 8:30 in the morning too, so I was a little concerned. But people seemed to be. They had their coffee. They were interested. There's the team.
But yeah, we got great clients. It's always wonderful to see them. We love those relationships we have with our clients.
Yeah, so great.
We do our best to take good care of them. And if we didn't see you out on a trade show, make sure you get out there, because these trade shows are invaluable in terms of networking, seeing us, of course, and just learning what's new and different out in the industry.
Yeah.
So what's the bottom line? Bonnie, you want to go first? The bottom line for you?
Well, again, the trade shows, like we said, are so important. I'm going to do a quick plug for the NCPA ownership workshop that's going to be right before the NCPA show in October. So I believe it's that weekend, that September 30th, October 1st weekend. If you're looking at purchasing a store or doing a startup, definitely look into signing up for that workshop. We'll be speaking there that weekend. Just a full weekend full of compact from, the whole nuts and bolts of buying and purchasing a store, doing a startup. Yes, worth every penny.
A must do if you're buying or starting a pharmacy.
Yeah, and I would say that for anyone who doesn't see the need to travel, one pharmacist that I spoke to, it's not that he necessarily learned a lot of new things, but he was able to just get away from the bench.
Yeah.
And really think about his business and think about what he was doing and see things from like 1,000-foot level. So now he kind of gives him that second wind to go back and make the changes he knows he needs to make. Whereas if he was just at the bench filling scripts.
And it's the networking too with the other pharmacists. So they're all together. They're all talking about.
They're all going through the same challenges.
Yeah.
You go out there because you're stuck behind the bench. You kind of feel like you're in a silo, but then you get out there and you realize everybody else is, trying to do the same things and so on. So
yeah,
trade shows are vital opportunities for pharmacies would be my bottom line there, Kendell.
Yep.
Well,
good.
I hope this has been pretty good. I think we covered a lot here, and I'm sure future episodes we're going to have a few of our clients on here to kind of get into that diversified revenue we talked about, and so on. So, but appreciate everybody listening in. And if you have questions, comments, please go to Ask Sykes at Sykes-CPA.com. And we'll do our best to answer your email or reach out to us on our website. You can schedule a call anytime. So happy to help any way we can. And again, we appreciate everybody listening in, and we'll see you at the next trade show.
Hey, bye.
Your paychecks, check. Your QuickBooks, check. Your checks, yes.